Kelly. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today is going to be a little bit of a longer video because I am going to be tier ranking all the books I read in 2025. And I think I did this last year, either towards the end of the year or beginning of the year, somewhere around this time. And I tier ranked all the books, and I really enjoy tier ranking because it makes me think about all the books that I read within a year and see how I really feel about them after it's been maybe a couple months since even looking at it. So we're going to talk about some of my all-time faves from the year, some books that I really enjoyed and would totally recommend, as well as some books that probably forgot about that I even read and probably would not recommend. So let's go ahead and take a look at my tier ranking titles for each category. Okay, so here is my tier rank on tiermaker.com. Literally just threw in some book pictures of all the books I read and created my own little ranking. So at the top in red it says lives in my head rent free. Obviously this is S tier, so it's like the best books that I read. Next we have not life-altering, but pretty close. So these are books that I really loved, would recommend, but they're not quite S tier, so like A tier. Going down to the third, we have did what they were set to do. So these are books that are kind of in the B tier of like, I liked them, I would recommend them, but they're not mind-blowing or just not always in my head constantly, so it's kind of in the middle, so B tier. Yellow or C tier is I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them because there are some books that I looked back and I was like, I read that? What was the plot? Who were the characters? So that is C tier. And then last but not least is the green, which is F, and that is didn't work for me. Like, these are books that I did not enjoy very much and I don't think I'd recommend them. So, and as a disclaimer for the books that go into that, if it's one of your favorites or you really enjoyed it, don't yell at me, okay? This is my opinion. So, and we all have different opinions about books. So, just to clear the air. So let's start. I have these books ordered by when I read them. So the first few are from like a year ago. And we'll just constantly go throughout the years. So, first few books are from January of last year. The first book that I read in 2025 was The Housemaid, and I remember staying up really, really late and reading it, like binge reading it, which I know Freida McFadden books tend to do that for me. So, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd continue the series. I've heard that the series itself kind of, man, like you're fine reading just the one. I have not seen the movie as well. So I would say maybe an A tier, like not life-altering, but pretty close. Next, we have Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the fourth book in the Chestnut Springs series. And this was with Theo and Winter, which I really enjoyed. But I don't think they live in my head rent-free, to be honest. I really don't remember a lot of the plot of that one. All I remember is Theo and Winter, and Theo was a bull rider, like learning from Rhett. Is it Rhett? Yeah. So I'm gonna put that next to The Housemaid. Not life-altering, but pretty close. I did remember really enjoying it and liking it and all of that. Not to put it in the I don't remember it, but I do remember having a good time. Everything by, I believe it's Nicola Yoon. This book is like a YA book. I'm pretty sure I read it in a day. I literally just did chores around the house and like listened to the audiobook off of Libby. So I'm definitely, if I remember correctly, it was an interesting way the author wrote the story, which I literally could pull it up from right here, but like interesting way to write it. And then she like lived in a bubble basically, like in her house, like she wasn't allowed to go outside. Is that the book? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm gonna put I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them, because I think I read that book so fast, or I should say listened to that book so fast that I don't really remember it that much. Alright, we're moving on through. We got like 50-ish books that we gotta go through today. So, next we have is Curse of True Love. Is that the title of the book? I'm going off what I can see. And that is by Stephanie Garber. This is the third and final book in the what is that called? The, you know, Once Upon a Broken Heart series. That's what it's called. And I remember I read the other 2 books in the series the year before, so in 2024, and I was like, I just need to finish this series, and it's so beloved and people love it, and I'm like super excited and hyped about it because I'm like, wow, something crazy is probably gonna happen or something. And I just remember being disappointed. Like, I don't know, I remember just being disappointed in the book. I don't know why, but I don't think I like hated it. I'm gonna say it did what they set out to do, meaning that it was a good closing book for the series, but it definitely didn't have some things that I thought it would have, so I'll put that there. Next we have is Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. This is a hockey romance. It's the Vancouver Storm series. The first one is a grumpy sunshine. He's on a hockey team. She becomes his manager. She thinks that he hates her, but he actually is like in love with her. So good, okay? Does it live in my head rent free though? I will say I absolutely love that book, and I just read The Fake Out later this year, which is on this ranking, and I would say that maybe, I don't know if it lives rent free because I can't even think of his name. Hold on. Jamie. I kept wanting to say Rory, but I know Rory is in The Fake Out. So, Pippa and Jamie. There's like some parts that are like in my head that I remember, but definitely not live in my head rent free. I'm putting it in not life altering, but pretty close. Like, I loved it. Great banter, great romance, sports romance. Highly recommend. Okay, where am I gonna put this one? This is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. First book in the series. Have yet to read the second. Have not read any of them, okay? So, I remember that it wasn't like a 5-star read for me. It was pretty good. I did like it. But there was parts where I was like, why are we talking about runny stools? Was that the word? Something, runny bowels? Something like that. And I was like, why are we using, I think she said it like 3 times throughout the book. And I was like, what? So, don't hate me, but I'm putting ACOTAR in the middle of it. Did what they were set to do. Good starter book of a series. Let's see where we go from here. Next we have is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the last and final book in the Chestnut Springs series, and this was about Beau and Bailey. Beau is like a military, he just came home from military, he has PTSD, he's a lot older than Bailey, and it was not my favorite book from the Chestnut Springs series. I just remember being really irritated with Bailey a lot, and I don't know if it's because she was portrayed as younger, so she's like more immature than him, but she irritated me. So I'm gonna say I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them, because I'm glad to finish that series and like getting to know all those characters and growing with them, but I also just, the only thing I remember was something negative. And I'm not gonna say it didn't work for me, because I did enjoy the closeout of it. So, alright, we're coming up with the books that I read in February as well, I forgot to mention. But we have As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. This is a Disney retelling of Beauty and the Beast, asking the question of what if what if Belle's mother cursed the beast? And I liked this twist. I love like retellings of classic stories like this, but I just remember I wasn't that impressed with the retelling. It seemed very slow paced, and especially after like growing up with Beauty and the Beast, I just had like this certain storyline in my head, and when it wasn't like truly following it or adding its own, I was just kind of uninterested. So I'm just gonna say did what they were set out to do, because it's a fun little like twist in that classic tale. So if you like retellings or twists and stuff like that, you might really enjoy this book. Next we have is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm looking back and I only rated this like a 4-star, which is so funny because I think about Levi and B. Yes, literally, Levi and B. I wanted to double check and make sure that was their names. I think about them all the time. I don't know what it is. I always am like, wow, like, what would Marie Curie do? Like, this Love on the Brain is, okay, I haven't read a lot of Ali Hazelwood, and let me start there, but I loved this when I read it, and I think about them every so often. They pop into my head. They come and say, hey, like, remember us? And I'm like, yeah. So they might be my first ones up in the lives in my head rent free, because them as a couple live in my head rent free. Or for sure B, because I love her. She is who I aspire to be, because the fun hair, working like woman in STEM, like working in a male dominated field. I love her. So I'm gonna say lives in my head rent free. My goal this year is to read more Ali Hazelwood books because I definitely love her writing. Alright, next book we have is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book was a kind of like a retelling of the story of Achilles and his lover Patroclus, I want to say his name is. And I really enjoyed it because of that like Greek mythology added into it, and I know it took me a little bit to get into and to understand because of the writing, but I remember being like, oh, that's okay. But I also remember like after the fact, after processing the story, I found a more love for it. So I'm gonna put it in, because I only rated it a 3.5, but like I think about that book all the time and I'm like, wow, that actually was a pretty good book. So I'm gonna put it in, I'm gonna put it here. Did what they were set to do, because I did enjoy it. There were some parts that felt slow or I didn't really feel the need for them, but after reading it and processing it, I was like, wow, this is a really good book. So I highly recommend. Next we have is Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. Automatically lives in my head rent free. This was my my first 5-star, I want to say, for 2025. I remember finishing it and just like staring at the wall and having an existential crisis after reading it. So it's about these a group of people who are kind of like stuck in a apartment after a bank robber like robbed a bank and just like went into the apartment, and now like it's the cops, they're stuck together in a room and they're just talking about each other's lives and like how they've intertwined. There's also a show on Netflix which I still need to watch, but I absolutely loved this book and it got me into like, hey, I'm gonna read more Fredrik Backman because I love his writing. So lives in my head rent free. Probably right now my favorite Fredrik Backman book that I've read. Next we have The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. Now this is about a man who owns a bookstore in a small town, and he's kind of like a grumpy old man. Like, he thinks life is worthless kind of because his wife passed away, so it's just him. But then all of a sudden some sort of surprise comes into his life, and it kind of flips it around. So it's a really heartfelt story, and even watching the movie I cried. So I'm definitely gonna put it up with, I think Lives in My Head Rent Free, because every time I see that book I'm like, oh, that's such a good book, highly recommend. And after also watching the movie afterwards too. So I'm gonna put that in Lives in My Head Rent Free. Up next we have In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. Now this is an interesting book. It was advertised as a romance book, which it definitely is not. But when I first got into it, that's what I thought it was. But it's not. It's about a woman who like goes to sleep or something. Like, she sees herself in 5 years and she's with a different guy in a different place, and she's like, what is going on? Like, what, I'm supposed to be with this guy, like what happens that I'm with this man in a different apartment? Like, what is going to change in 5 years that's going to cause that? So she tries to make choices to change that outcome. So it's an interesting story. It's definitely made me cry. And it was a short book. I do remember that. So I'm gonna say not life-altering, but pretty close. I don't think about it too much because it does make me sad when I read it. I mean, think about it. So up next we have Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. I was so excited to read this book. I don't know why. I was like, ooh, dragons, a girl, like fantasy, ooh, ooh, ooh. I don't remember finishing it. I literally don't remember the plot. All I remember is it was very heavy, like political, but also like the writing was so confusing. I was like, what is going on? I was so disappointed. So this I'm gonna put in didn't work for me. I don't know if it's because I set high expectations for it, or it just wasn't for me. That was like my first like under 3-star review. So yeah, it was like a 2-star. The next one is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is a thriller book about a young girl's disappearance, and I remember finishing it and feeling so icky. Like, I was like, this could be real. Like, yeah, and it was just kind of like a story of where, when I read thrillers, I'm always trying to guess where it's gonna go or who done it kind of deal. And I think I was still like shocked at the end, but after reading it I felt icky. Meaning that it wasn't a bad book, it's just like the eerie and creepiness of it, and like the things that happen, I'm just like, ooh, like it creeped me out. So I'm gonna say it did what they said to do, because it wasn't like the best, but I did rate it pretty high. Thriller book of all time, but it definitely gave me the heebie-jeebies. So maybe I'll move it up because The Housemaid's up there, and like that the Lisa Jewell one is pretty, yeah, so I'll keep it there. Next we have is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is like the first book of this little mini series, or I shouldn't say series, it's like a interconnected standalone series that has to do with Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer. So I already read Just for the Summer the year before, and I was like, let me go back and read these two books to kind of connect the characters all together. So this book I rated a 4-star. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember a lot from it. Like, I think I remember Winona was a part, like, mentioned because the guy in the book lived in a small town near Winona, or like down southern Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, I remember little parts here and there, like she was like a nurse or worked in medical. So I'm gonna say did what they were said to do. Yeah, it was a good romance book at the time. Do I remember a lot of it? No. Next we have is Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I absolutely loved this book. Now, it took me a while to read it since when it came out, but my friend was like, you have to read it before Lila's new book comes out. Like, you have to get it done. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, fine. And I finally did it, and I was so happy I did, because I believe it's my favorite out of the series, and I think it's a lot of people's favorites. And I was a little like, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. She was telling me little parts but not spoiling it, and I was like, oh no. But then I finished it and I texted her and I was like, oh my god, I loved this. So definitely lives in my head rent free. Teddy Baby, that's all I have in my head sometimes, is Teddy Baby. And before, I was like, what? Huh? But now I understand. That's if you've read the book. Going back to back with 5-star reads, we have Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This obviously lives in my head rent-free because it's the last and final book of my favorite series. Well, I shouldn't say my favorite. Well, it is my favorite. I mean, I have a couple other books that are like my favorite series, like Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows and all of that. But I will say Powerless is probably like my all-time favorite. And this lives in my head rent-free. Obviously, Kai lives in my head rent-free because I love him. Peyton as well. And I thought this book was a great way to kind of just like close this chapter of these characters, because I know they're gonna come back as like appearances or just like we're not done in the world. But I absolutely love this book, so you should read it. Definitely if you were like didn't really like Reckless, I definitely recommend reading Fearless just to like finish up it was so good. Next we have is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. And I remember, I think I had the audiobook of this. I mean, I also had the book, but I think I listened to the majority of it. And it's about a young girl who struggled with mental illness. Like, I believe she was in a mental hospital type deal, or just like a group home. Because she was recovering from like I don't know if I should say it, but she was recovering from SH, or the other thing that is not non-reversible. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So this was a pretty heavy book. It is a YA book, which I think is kind of crazy, but like I also understand why it's a YA book, because a lot of teenagers might need something to connect with too. So for me, as like an adult reading this, I didn't really like it, but I understand the purpose of why it was written, because, you know, some teenagers could relate to the main characters. So I'm gonna say I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them, because I don't remember anything else besides those triggers in the book. So that one's definitely a heavier one, and I think it's part of a series as well. So next is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is that second book in that little interconnected standalone series type deal, and I believe I liked this one a lot more. This was like a workplace romance type deal. It was with Brianna, and what is his name? It starts with like a J. Jacob. This one I definitely liked a lot more than Part of Your World. I don't think I liked it more than Just for the Summer. Just for the Summer, I think, just really like connected with me. I really enjoyed it, and because I'm reading it backwards, it didn't hit as hard. So, but it's pretty up there. It's like super, probably like a lot of people's favorites is Yours Truly. So I'm gonna put it up with, not life altering, but pretty close, because it is a very good romance. I almost rated it a 5-star at the time, and it definitely had some cute moments and emotional moments as well, because Abby Jimenez likes to hurt us Next book is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I remember I read this because Promise Me Sunshine either just came out or was about to come out, and I was really interested in Cara Bastone's work. Now, Ready or Not does have like an accidental pregnancy trope or pregnancy type thing where main character is pregnant and the story starts with her pregnant and like her life being pregnant basically, which I did not mind, but I think the thing that bothered me the most was the person she fell in love with was not the one who got her pregnant. And I understand things like that happened, and like it was her trying to figure out how is she going to keep the father, the biological father, in the life when she's falling in love for this guy. So I'm gonna say did what they were set to do. It was an okay book. I'm probably gonna read more by her. I love her covers, they're so pretty. But maybe the pregnancy thing is not for me. I don't know. Might need to read a couple more books. Who knows? Next we have is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This is one of her like YA series she has. I don't know if it's called anything, but it's like a historical fiction type vibe mixed with like gothic vibes. I don't know. It's about this like 17-year-old girl who she's like pretty wealthy, comes from a wealthy family, but she's like so interested in the forensic sciences, so or forensic medicine, like dead bodies and all of that. And she finds out that there's a serial killer out on the loose, and yeah. Do I remember a lot? No. So I'm gonna put this in. I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them because that's all I remember. Is like she was interested in the case when it started happening, but I don't remember anything else besides that. I do want to read the rest of the series. We got Hunting Prince Dracula, Escaping from Houdini, Capturing the Devils. So I like Kerri Maniscalco's writing. It's just this one I don't really remember. And like a lot of these books, these couple books are gonna be in that category because I don't remember reading them. Okay, next we have is Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd. Now this is a middle grade book. I was reading this because I was trying to read all the Maud Hart Lovelace Awards or nominees. So this was one of the books on the list, and it is about a girl, 12-year-old girl. She was homeschooled. She's in a wheelchair because she has like a brittle bone disease. I forget what it's actually called. And osteogenesis imperfecta. And she convinces her parents that she wants to go to school instead of being homeschooled. And there's like this kind of like magic realism added into the story, which Olive can like hear like whispers of this magic, and whoever can find this bird, the magical hummingbird, gets a wish. So it's a cute book. Did I enjoy it? It was okay. I mean, again, I'm an adult woman reading a middle grade book, so I'm gonna just say it did what they were set to do. Oh, move down. Because it was an okay book. Okay, it was fun. But definitely, like, I'm not the audience for it. But I think a lot of students might really enjoy it if they love, like, magic or have that belief of magic in the world. So I'm having some technical difficulties, but I had to switch to my laptop. And I'm not sure if it caught the last two books I put on here. But I put Three Dark Crowns by Keandre Blake on I Don't Regret Them, but I also don't remember them. And then Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater Didn't Work for me. And that didn't work because I think it was the Regency style that it was written in was just like, for me, I'm like, I can't read this. I don't know if it's like Bridgerton, but it reminds me of Bridgerton, and it's not for me. So then I was like, ooh, I think I'm getting into a slump, so let me pick up a manga, and I picked up Cat Plus Gamer from the library by Wataru Nadatani. And this is about a girl who is like obsessed with gaming, and all of a sudden a cat like shows up at her door basically, and so she's like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this cat. So it's a cute little book. Don't remember much of the plot, so I'll put it, I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them. Next we have is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Now this, I guess, was her debut novel, which I did not know, but I loved it. The premise is 6 summers to fall in love, 1 moment to fall apart, a weekend to get it right. Kinda giving me People We Meet on Vacation vibes, but I remember loving it. I remember wanting to read more. I did like it. It's like a, what do you call it? Second chance romance type deal. So I'm gonna put it in not life altering, but pretty close, because I did really enjoy it when I read it. And I'm pretty sure One Golden Summer is set in the same lake that this story took place. So I would love to read that to get some more of those characters. Up next we have is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I was hearing a lot about this, and it definitely was not my cup of tea of like how she wrote it. And I think that's a lot of people's things that like biggest thing about this book was how it was written. I'm gonna just say I don't regret it, but I also don't remember. Just because of how it was written, I just was like, I can't get past it. Like, their dialogue wasn't actually dialogue. If that makes sense. I don't think it does. But we'll put it there. And I really wanted to like it, but I just couldn't get past the writing style. Next we have is The Perfect Son, and I'm gonna be completely honest, this is by Frida McFadden, but I don't remember this book at all. I like don't remember, so I'm putting that right in the I also don't remember them. I have no idea what the plot is of this. I just remember a like mom obsessed with her son. He's perfect, he won't do anything wrong. That's all I remember. Daughter of the Pirate King. Another book that I'm like, did I really read these? This is another book I don't regret reading, but I also don't remember. Like, I could not tell you what this was. I know it was giving like Jack Sparrow vibes, but I couldn't tell you anything else. I also remember she kind of gave me a little bit, yeah, like Jack Sparrow, but like people were after her because her dad's the Pirate King, and she kept getting kidnapped, or she just like kept trying to trick men. That's all I remember. So I'm gonna leave it there. I have no idea. Next we have is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is kind of like their big book talk book, or like the thing that kind of like, I guess it was like a big book talk book, okay? It's an enemies to lovers. It was like the bride and groom couldn't make it to their honeymoon, so they sent like her sister and his brother or something like that, and they hate each other, but then they find out they don't hate each other, they actually like each other. I thought it was a cute book. I need to probably read more of Christina Lauren's work. So I'm just going to say did what they were set to do. You know, like a good fake dating, force proximity, enemies to lovers type deal. Like, it's kind of like the blueprint, you know? So, I'm going to leave it there. I also think I remember she was like fake dating because she sees her boss there, or someone that she works with. Next we have is Check in Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is like her YA book that she wrote, having to do with chess. And at first I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this because I know nothing of chess. But I'm looking back and I rated this pretty high. I rated it a 4.25. And it's probably because I actually loved Mallory and what's his name? I don't remember his name, so it's not as high as Love Out in the Brain. Nolan. I did love that. So I'm gonna put Checkmate, not life-altering, but pretty close, because I do really enjoyed it, and I liked that the Mallory's, what's the word? Being put into chess, it's not a woman-dominated area, so she had to deal with a lot of misogyny because of that. And I love that she just like persevered and pushed on through and was like, I am gonna play chess. I'm good at chess. And I liked their little like battles. I shouldn't say battles, they're not fighting, but they're like playing against chess with each other. And like, who knew how intense a chess match could be? Not me. So I do really enjoy them. And I do remember a point in the book where like you could just like feel Nolan's like love for her, but like he just didn't have the guts to say anything, and I was like, just tell her. So next we have is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This was a thriller where a bunch of people go to a island and they're like travelers and somebody ends up dead, that type of thing. We're reckless girls, blah blah blah. It was okay. Nothing memorable. I didn't rate it pretty high. I rated it a 3.75. I'm gonna be honest. Why? I don't know why. I'm gonna put it in, did what they were set to do. I think it's a good summer thriller. I read it over 4th of July and I was up at Accountants, so that was kind of fun. So I definitely like good summer book to read. Next is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is part of a series called The Lunar Chronicles, which is a YA sci-fi retelling of fairy tales, basically. So of course Cinder is based off of Cinderella, but Cinderella is a cyborg. This was me kind of dipping my toes into sci-fi. I don't think I'd be the best person for sci-fi books. And this was just, again, maybe because in my head when I think Cinderella, I have a specific story that it should follow. But since it's just basically using Cinderella, changing, instead of like a glass slipper and a princess, she's like a cyborg, and I don't know. It just seemed, what's the word? Like unexpected, which some people might really enjoy that, where taking a character that you've grown up with and putting them somewhere else and like a what if situation. So I'm gonna put it in I don't regret them, but I also don't remember them, because do I remember they were like trying to get something from someone? I don't know. It's a series. Am I gonna read the rest? I don't know. I have the other book. Or do I have the next book? I think I do. So I might have to. See, like middle of the year is when I like forget plots of books. Like we have a lot that I don't remember because I straight up don't remember them at all. Did I even read them? Next is Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. This is a part of a series called A Silver Pines Novel, and I was like, I want to read a cowboy romance. I want to read something like Elsie Silver, something like Lila Sage. I need something like that, and I thought reading this would help, and I had it on the Kindle app. And I'm gonna be honest, this one's also going in I don't remember them. I don't remember reading this. And I do remember maybe it was very, very like spicy. So it's like a lot more spicier, I feel like, than Elsie Silver or Lila Sage. Which like, they have some spice, but not like this type of spice. I remember it's really spicy. I don't remember anything else. Cowboy. I'm so sorry. This is probably really bad. Or I have really bad memory. I don't know what it is. Next we have Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Casamano. Pretty average read of this book. I rated it a 3.5. All I remember is it's kind of like a comedic thriller slash mystery. This woman, Finley, obviously, she's a single mom, struggling novelist. She's trying to write a book, which the actions of what happens in the book helps her write, but she overhears discussing the plot of her new novel with her agent, and then she's mistaken as a contracted killer, so like a hitman, and so she has to deal with that, and she gets involved with very bad people, and it's, I think, a series as well. I'm gonna put it in, like, I remember reading it and enjoying it, but I'm gonna say they did what they were set to do. Kind of like a funny thriller. Like, you're expecting this mom who is talking about her story to her agent, and then another person's like, oh my god, she's a hitman. I'm gonna ask her to kill someone for me. What? You're gonna ask this mother to do this? So, I don't know. Seemed a little silly. Definitely a different type of, like, thriller. More, like I said, comedic thriller. Hopefully we're getting to some books that I actually remember reading, which Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is book number 1 in the Rose Hill series. Small town romance, of course, in the same universe as Chestnut Springs. I believe the male main character in this is Willa's brother. He owns like a record company. He's like a millionaire, billionaire type thing. He's a single dad. And that's all I remember, to be honest. Yeah, Ford Grant. Rosie, his best friend's sister. I remember enjoying it. I do like Elsie Silver's books. I do need to continue the series, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember anything of the plot. Like, I remember him, like, building a studio, and, like, him not really enjoying being a billionaire. He's like, I just want, like, a low life, but, like, meh. And then Rosie comes back in town. I don't remember. Did I read this? I don't remember. Jeez. I need to really, like, pay attention to what I read, because I think I just read, and then, you know, I read so many books that, like, the plots just come right out of my brain after I finish them or something. I don't know. Next we have The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is like a classic. I read this in middle school. I remember really enjoying it. We watched the movie, all of that. Looking back at it, or like reading it as an adult now, I do still enjoy it. It just seemed very short. Like, I remember in middle school it felt such a long book, and like, not life-changing, but I'm gonna say did what they were set to do. It's a great classic book, and I think everyone should read it. And it's pretty short. So next we have is Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the last book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I remember really enjoying this one, as well as Lost and Lassoed. We have Cam and Dusty, who have kind of fallen apart. They were together and throughout high school, and throughout the story you're kind of figuring out what happened to make them fall apart, basically, not with each other anymore. So I'm gonna say I really enjoyed it. I love Lila Sage's writing. I'm gonna put it up with not life altering, but pretty close. I liked it a lot, and I thought it was a good way to close out the series. Next is Fearful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella, part of the Powerless trilogy. You can read it tandem with Fearless, and it takes a different point of view than what you are used to throughout the trilogy itself. I thought it was a great novella, like finding this different point of view and seeing this new character was really interesting, and it kind of feels like Lauren has grown as a writer. I'm gonna say it lives in my head rent-free because of like getting that other perspective from Fearless, because like I said, you can read these in tandem, and it's just like an added point of view of everything going on in Fearless, but from another perspective. So those kind of go hand in hand with each other. So obviously it lives in my head rent free. Alright, I'm coming to the last couple books coming up, which are some books that I do remember the last few months. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This definitely lives in my head rent free. I can't believe I didn't read it as a child when it first came out, and like the hype and all that. It's my first time reading it, and reading it now in the events of what's happening in the world is definitely kind of crazy how similar things are. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I loved reading it and then watching the movie. I think that really solidified it being a book that's stuck in my head. I've been enjoying the series so far, so again, don't know how I haven't read it prior to this, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Next is Hello Stranger by Katherine Center. This is another book that I really don't remember reading. Like, I know I read it. Like, I could tell you I read it. Do I remember it? Probably. I remember some parts. Like, I know that our main character gets blind. Like, she has blindness, facial blindness, where she can't recognize faces. And all I remember is she has like a mean sister or friend or someone in her life she's mean. I don't know. And she's an artist. That was the biggest thing. So I am going to say did what they were set to do. It's an interesting take on a romance, especially when the main female character has facial blindness. But it's also not just romance. I remember it was like her struggling with her job as an artist and like trying to figure out how am I gonna do this competition when I can't even see faces, and it's a portrait. It's supposed to be a portrait. So next book I have is A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy I. Lin. This is a YA fantasy, I guess duology, and it's about a girl Ning who is in like a, not a competition, well, I guess it's like a competition, but in this world, tea making is like a magical aspect and magical art. And if you win, the princess would give you a favor. So I thought it was going to be more high stakes, I think. I felt very lost with the plot and things like that, so I'm just gonna put it in didn't work for me. I rated this pretty low, and it's supposed to be like a lot of, okay, it says court politics, which it does deal a lot with politics and like not war, but like I've been yapping for so long my brain doesn't even work right now. I can't talk, but it didn't work. But you might like it, so don't hate me if you do. When I had a couple of these books where I was like, am I in a shrimp? I'm going to read a manga. So I picked up Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. Junji Ito is kind of like a horror-esque, gory manga writer, and Dissolving Classroom is definitely one that is kind of creepy. It's like short stories of these two characters. It's just like interesting stories. Definitely gives me like Twilight Zone vibes with Junji Ito's stories. So I'm gonna say did what they were set to do, because it's like an interesting story. It definitely was creepy. The art in it was weird and creepy, especially reading it in October. So this is like an average read, but I do want to read more of his work. I do like it because it reminds me of Twilight Zone. Did I say Twilight series? Twilight Zone. Those are fun. Or like Black Mirror. Alright, next we have is What the Hex by Jessica Clare. This was about a enemies to lovers, witchy vibes, kind of comedic, had some like funny parts here and there. I believe I listened to this book. I did enjoy reading it in October. I do remember that. I think it's a good October read, especially because it's witchy. So I'm going to put it in did what they were set to do, because it's a fun, witchy enemies to lovers book. So the guy, I think, was like a really, really old witch wizard type dude who is not a criminal, but he did something where he is not part of the witches guild or whatever it's called. But she is, and she needs to have a mentor, and so he takes up her as a familiar, I think it's called. So I thought it was fun. Again, don't remember a lot, but it was fun. That's what I remember. Soul Searching by Lila Sage. This is like her first book in this new series of Sweetwater Peak. I absolutely loved it. Like, I'm so excited to read more of this series, the atmosphere of this, the characters, especially leaning more not just romance but like character development of Collins was really fun. So this definitely lives in my head rent free. And also as adding the like, oh, she can see ghosts. That's so cool. So definitely lives in my head rent free. Hasn't been there too long, so hopefully it sticks around. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one was a fun book as well, because after reading it I did watch is it a show or a movie? This is by Holly Jackson. It is about a girl who is like writing not like a research project, but she's doing a school assignment, but then she gets caught up in this missing persons case, and she gets to know the brother of the guy who they suspected was the killer, and she's like, I know your brother's not the killer, and I can help you prove his innocence. It was a fun book to follow Pip in this murder mystery kind of case. Like, I just felt like I was a detective too. So these are kind of my favorite kind of thriller type books or mystery books of like the whodunit. So I'm leaving it in the not life altering, but pretty close, because I think it's a pretty good YA whodunit mystery that people might enjoy. Next is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is a YA? It might be. It's like a dark fantasy. Like, I think of Grimm Brothers. The Grimm Brothers, or Grimm fairy tales with this. It is about a girl, Alice, who has spent the life on the road because bad things keep happening, and then all of a sudden her mom just disappears, and she is believed that she is trapped in the Hazelwood, which is a place that her grandmother has written about. Creepy things that happen. It's not like creepy, like scary, but it's dark. Got some dark fantasies. So I'm gonna put this in did what they were set to do. I enjoyed it. It's not like the best book ever, but it was fun to read, especially with the dark aspect. Finally, I read book 2 of the Vancouver Storm series, The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. This is with Rory and Pippa's sister, Hazel. Took me a second. Rory and Hazel. So Hazel is Pippa's sister, and Rory, they were, I want to say friends, but she tutored him in high school, and he had a crush on her back then. She was dating someone else. He still likes her. It's kind of great. They set up a fake dating agreement, and I've been loving. I like Stephanie Archer's writing is pretty fun. I love it. The banter is probably my favorite thing from her books. So I'm gonna put it in not life altering, but pretty close. Like, it's a pretty good book. I'm super excited to continue that series, and it's a fun banter filled romance. Ooh, okay. Next we have is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I wanted to read this because I thought, ooh, this is gonna be scary, and Grady Hendrix like writes horror, and this, I mean, is not horror to me. Like, I was not scared while reading this. I was annoyed. There was some suspense in it from here to there, but I'm just gonna put it in didn't work for me. I think I need to read something else by Grady Hendrix, but I was just annoyed with the fact that like every few chapters it was like, oh, we can get through anything because we're final girls. What it's about, it's like the girls who are the last in a horror movie, so like Scream and Halloween and Friday the 13th. So Grady Hendrix like takes those movies and has them in this book, but they're named different things, which was fun. So if you love horror movies and want something like that, you might enjoy it. But I didn't see this as a horror book. It was more of like a fiction, suspenseful fiction book, to be honest. Alright, coming up with our last few books, we have Britt Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman. Now, this is about a older woman who something happened in her life and she's kind of trying to start fresh. And she is driving through this small town and decides to get a job there and settle down in this like drive-through town. Like, most people don't stop and stay, but she decides she's going to get a job here, and she starts to kind of build a community because she noticed these kids playing soccer out in the field, and she decides to kind of check out what's going on, and soon she becomes the coach of their team, and she kind of builds a family, a community there. So it's definitely a moving, heartwarming literary fiction piece, of course, if it's written by Fredrik Backman. I enjoyed my time reading it. I did tear up a little bit because I was like, now I understand Britt Marie a little bit more, and Fredrik Backman just knows how to do that. So I'm not gonna put it up in Lives in My Head Rent Free, but I did really enjoy it, so I'm putting it in not life altering, but pretty close, because all of his books kind of have that emotional little aspect to it, or just like some kind of like raw feeling to it. Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, book number 2 in the Hunger Games series. I enjoyed reading this. I will say it had a lot more twists and turns and things I was not expecting compared to the first book. I have yet to watch the movie, so don't hate me, but it left off on a cliffhanger, so it made me want to go and find Mockingjay and continue this series. So even though I'm gonna keep Hunger Games up in Lives in Head Rent Free because that's kind of just like a staple, but I also think maybe the series itself lives in my head rent free, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna keep Catching Fire with not life altering, but pretty close. Actually, no, I'm moving it up to that because I feel like the series itself is going to be in my head rent-free. Like, I'll think about it constantly when I finish it. So we'll leave it there. I moved it up. So second to last book is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And I know it took me a month to read this book because I wanted to take my time with it. And definitely is going up to Lives in My Head rent free. I am so glad I took my time reading it because it is such an impactful book to read, especially for someone like me who doesn't really like historical fiction. Didn't think they would really like this book because she doesn't like reading about war and things like that, but I think it's a must read in everybody's life to read it because of the historical event that occurred, which is World War II and the Nazi invasion, but as well as just getting to know the characters and like following them and understanding that this was a real event that happened and like real people, but like a story that is fictionalized with the characters, but like the Nightingale herself is a true person, like a person who actually went out and like saved soldiers. It was just the way she wrote was like a movie, and I can't wait for this to become a movie. So lives in my head rent free. And I guess the last book that I read in 2025 was the first book in the Jujutsu Kaisen series by Gigi Akutami. I watched the anime. I don't know how many episodes of the anime, but I definitely remember watching this episode, the first episode, and the first book represented that. So I'm gonna just say did what they were set to do, you know, start a new story, a new series, all of that. And it was nothing crazy. I mean, I enjoy the series, so I enjoyed the manga. Alright, and here is my final tier list through, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been here for like an hour and a half just sitting here yapping to the camera, but also having technical difficulties, so I'm so glad to finally be done. But it seems like overall I think 2025 was a fun reading year. It was a year of finishing some series, continuing some series, trying some new genres, going outside of my comfort zone and reading some books that I don't think I would have picked up unless I did in that moment. So it was super fun, and some books really surprised me. So this is my final tier ranking. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe. I post videos once a week, whether it's bookish content like this, lifestyle vlogs, kind of whatever I'm in the mood for. So if you like what you're seeing, you should go ahead and subscribe. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye!